Hey, how's it going, photographers? My name is Zack Smith, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Get the Most in Post, filmed at my studio on Magazine Street in the beautiful, sunny New Orleans, Louisiana. Today we're going to talk about HDR and panorama editing in Lightroom. Now, in the last couple of months, I've been asked to do a lot of architectural photography where I'm having to photograph a building at multiple times during the day. I like that twilight sky, but sometimes I need the nighttime to allow the building's inside's lights to overpower the outside lights. Now, these kind of lighting conditions don't exist at the same time. So I have to photograph multiple exposures over multiple times of the day to let it all come together. Now, Lightroom helps you out big time in this setting with the HDR setting. Also, if you're doing any panorama photography, these large-scale landscapes, you can use Lightroom's stitching detail in the panorama function. You can also combine the two. Let's go see how.
Okay, let's talk about some fun stuff now. If you thought portrait culling and gradual filters and brush filters were exciting, get ready for hyperspeed. I'm talking about HDR and panoramic merging. Let's merge. Okay, what do you want to merge first? What's that? Panoramic? Okay. So, recently on a little jaunt down the road in St. Bernard Parish, all the way to Los Isleños. If you haven't been out there, go check it out. I was doing some scouting, some site scouting, way down there to shoot some swamp scenes, bring some people by, and while I was out there, I decided to get a few scenes that I could maybe teach some HDR and panoramic stuff with. So as I was down there, I found this scene right here of some shrimp boats, and also this side right here, the street side of the little canal right there, and a raised, damaged double wide right here. And I wanted to create the context of both of those in there, but I think all I had was my 2470. So I just selected the two photos that I want to bring together, and I gave them a color code of yellow. So again, to get back into some keywording techniques here, why don't we keyword this panoramic? Panoramic, stitch, bayou, panoramic, right? This is a way that I could find it later, which it was really hard for me to find it this time. So let's go to label color, press G for grid, and there we go. Here's our grid of all our images. So let's look at the images I want to put together. It's this one and that one. So do you notice that this boat right here is this boat right here, and they look a little off, but let's see how the Lightroom manages that. So let's go, we could two-finger click this and go to photo merge, or we can go to edit, or excuse me, photo merge, or we can go to Shift M. Let's just do the two-finger click or left click and go to photo merge, panorama. So it's going to think about it for a second, and it will say, hey, all two images are successfully merged. It will do this for two or more images. Notice how it picked the further boat and stitched the rest of it. I wonder if it knew that. Either way, I'm happy. So you're going to want to do auto crop here, because what it does is it puts the images together and they don't really fit very well, so you'll have to crop this later. I would say if you want to add water here and add sky, you can make it a higher resolution image, but in my situation I really don't want to. So let's go to boundary warp, and you can see how we can kind of change our perspective on the boundaries and warp that image a little bit. I'm fine with it the way it is. So let's merge. So it added two tasks, and if we go to our task area right here, our task progress, let's call it that. It's creating the panorama right now. And as it does that, we can think of all the shrimp that we're going to eat. Oh, there it is right there. And let's wait a second. And you see how it crops the image. So it puts it right in the panel for you as a DNG. So uncompressed, nice high resolution image, which we can then go ahead and do some tweaking to. Maybe add a little bit of vibrance, bring our graduated filter up, darken that ground a little bit, do a new one, bring it down from the sky, make that a little bluer maybe. Yeah. Maybe get our adjustment brush and paint on a little warmness in the middle. Give it a little more of a dynamic feel. Now, you're seeing a little stepping and some blocks there because my computer is just trying to figure out this high resolution file, but I think it did a great job in stitching this image. This gives us a really good wide open scene of the bayous of St. Bernard Parish. While we're here, let's go take a look at that HDR image. So I went ahead and put a green box around the HDR for you. This image right here is shooting down this little canal or bayou that I saw off the side of the road, and I saw this like, I don't know, bridge or something down that. I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to expose for it, and when I did, and when I did expose for it, I lost the sky. So in the next exposure, I expose for the sky, and I want to add these two together, 2-finger click, photo merge, HDR, high dynamic range. Lightroom is going to take those two images, take the shadow areas from one, the highlights from the other, and put them all together. I want it to auto align because I was hand holding this image and I might be a little off. If you're on a tripod, you probably don't need this clicked, but I do want this clicked because it will figure out what your subject is, your composition, and line it for you. I'm going to leave the auto settings on there for exposure and all the color and tones. And I'm going to leave the deghosting high. So deghosting, as you see the overlay, what Lightroom tries to do is figure out if there was anything different in each shot, like a bird flying overhead or a moss swaying in the wind. That's a very Louisiana thing, right? A little moss swaying in the wind. It's going to try to figure out where that is and take care of it and find the best one and edit it. You can select the level of deghosting as you want. So I'm going to uncheck that right there. And let's merge these. Add it to tasks. Here we go, creating HDR. And while that finishes, we'll think of all the great shrimp we're going to eat tonight, and maybe some oysters. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it made the HDR, and what I love about this, it plops it right down in the little timeline right there. And here's our image. I'd say a vast improvement right there, but we can also go and do some editing, add a little clarity. Ooh, I might bring out the shadow in this one tree down here. Yeah, you see that? That's nice. So, there's a lot we can do here. While we're at it, let's make sure we keyword this HDR. HDR, high dynamic range. Get that done so we can find it. So, here's our two final images right here. I'm going to make those blue so we can look at them together. Our HDR Panoramic. Very easy. Hope you enjoyed it.
All right, thanks for joining me for this section in Get the Most in Post.